Hello, everyone. I can see that 4 people just came on. Okay, great. So welcome to this welcome to this live stream. It's completely unplanned. I just couldn't sleep. Woke up after like 3 hours, and I decided to do this live stream to let you all know, if you haven't heard about it yet, that I'm putting out a financial astrology newsletter. Okay. Now, what does that mean? A financial astrology newsletter. A financial astrology newsletter is what you're going to use, or what you can use, to make decisions for your investments. Okay, now listen. Astrology, just like everything else, is just one part of it all. Okay, so I'd say it's 33% of the decisions. 33%, a third is going to be technical analysis. Another third is going to be fundamental analysis, just what professional analysts do. Okay, you analyze a security, a stock, a company. You look at the fundamental data. You look at all, you know, different factors that you can be aware of, that you can get data on, and then you make a certain you create a certain hypothesis. Okay, you believe that the stock's going to do this, or is going to move into this direction during this time frame, right? So that's essentially the hypothesis. And then the next step is you add astrology on top of that, and astrology is going to give you another third of information. Okay, and when you put those three together, you will have very, very good results, guaranteed. You know, now this is not going to be financial advice. Don't get me wrong. Okay, I'm not giving you financial advice, but it is a free newsletter that basically just gives you a certain percentage of my personal ideas on a specific topic. I'm just putting it out there, sort of like as a something that I want to share. My own personal work that I do in my personal life. I want to share that with people out there, right? And like I said, it's going to be completely free. And well, you're going to have access to that if you sign up on the link that I'm going to post now. Give me 1 second. Okay. So I'm going to post the link here in the chat now. The link here in the chat now. The link here. Good. So let's see. In the meantime, if you guys have any questions and comments that make sense, you can definitely post them here. Okay. So let me know if you got any questions. Let's see. Bro, this is crazy. Okay, so while I'm looking for that, what's with the chat here? Sal says hi, 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 Sal. Good. So I'm posting that link now in the chat And this is where you're going to be able to sign up. Okay, go to that page, and this is where you're going to be able to sign up. Great. There you go. There's a link. So when you want to multiply your money and you want to just use stocks for that, um, there are certain things that you need to do. Okay, you need to analyze the stock. You need to analyze the stock. How does that work? Most people think it's looking at the charts and looking for patterns in the chart, which is true. I mean, this is technical analysis, that's part of it. But first, you do fundamental analysis, hopefully, and then it's about a bet that it's going to go up or down. That's not what you do. That's a little bit oversimplified. What you do is you first look at the data that you get about the company. Okay, what is the data? Okay, so you look at its position in the market. Its position in the market determines its future prospects. I think that makes sense, right? So, what is the competition? Are they a leader? What's their market share? To what extent do they have an economic moat? An economic moat is essentially like a imagine a castle with its moat. Okay, you need to cross the moat in order to get to the castle. That's another barrier that has been created. And in a business sense, this means how hard is it to copy that company, or how hard it is to compete with that company. Okay, who has an enormous economic moat? Amazon. Amazon has a crazy economic moat. Why? Because they have a crazy infrastructure that you just can't compete with. It's been built over decades, and nobody can deliver as fast as they can. That's why they got a massive economic moat, and this is one of the factors why it's such a valuable company, right? And these factors and these economic modes exist in many different industries with many different companies. And the bigger the economic mode a company has, the harder it is to compete with it, and the more valuable it will be. Okay. Then you have the management team, the track record. You have debt to equity ratio. Debt to equity ratio. Why is that important? A debt to equity ratio is important because the higher the debt, the higher the debt service. Okay, and what does that mean? It means that if a company needs to go into a lot of debt, it means that it can't basically finance itself. It can't sustain itself through its normal operations. That's a value destroyer, essentially, right? And long term, or not even long term, but midterm, um, a company like that will always go down, right? And on the other hand, you got companies with a better debt to equity ratio, and these companies sooner or later will thrive. They will win. Why? Because they are obviously profitable. They don't need as much debt, right? Good. Then you got to look at the decisions of the management team. Okay, what are they doing? Do you believe in that company? Now, if you're looking at a smaller company, when you look at VC, for example, venture capital, at that point, it's almost only about the team, right? Now, during different stages of a company, the team is going to change, right? But even when it's a public company, meaning it's being traded in the stock market, even then, the team the management team, the leaders are going to be super important because they provide the vision, they can execute, and they create basically the SOPs and many other things, strategic decisions, right? Um, I mean, what you want in an ideal case is a monopoly, right? Which is kind of like theoretical, which doesn't really work that well. But the more, the closer a company is to a monopoly, the better, I would say, right? But I mean, there are many, many, many companies in between that. There are different varieties of that, right? So this is basically a fundamental analysis. It goes further. You would also look at political developments, legal stuff, many many different factors, right? What you basically do is you start. You start at a large scale. Okay, you look at global developments, and then you scale down into different segments and sectors of the market, which will react differently to different economic conditions, and then you will go into different companies, right? And based on that, you can create a hypothesis, an idea, or an estimation of how the company is going to do in the future, right? When I say future, that could be midterm, long term, whatever, right? And then we're talking about technical analysis, right? Now, by the way, guys, uh, some people will get bored by this stuff. They will be bored about learning things like this, or they're bored about hearing things like that. Well, that's great because that means you're never going to make any amount of money. I mean, you got to make a decision. Either you get curious about what I'm talking about here, or you stay broke your whole life. That's your choice. I mean, be my guest. Capitalism is a zero-sum game. The less people are good at money, the less competition you have. It's a great thing. It's a great thing. So if you think this is boring, go watch TikTok. If you think you got to make a stupid comment here, I mean, save your time and go back to TikTok or watching porn and jerking off. That's much better. Um, this is a slave mentality, and you can't really change that. Most people are not capable of dealing with the emotional stuff that comes with that. I believe it's an emotional problem. I don't believe it's actually an intellectual problem. I believe most people are too emotional about this topic called money. So um, they shut off. Okay. Next, let's talk about technical analysis. Technical analysis is what most people would consider investing, right? It's essentially analyzing stock charts, price movements of the past, looking for patterns that will repeat themselves. This in itself is kind of like it's something that takes some time and experience, but it's, I mean, depending on how well you do it, it's rather reliable. It's not necessarily my favorite because you have to, you're gonna have to be very, very vigilant, okay, and you're gonna have to really, really try to take advantage of many price movements, okay, which can be profitable, absolutely, but it's not necessarily my favorite because it's it's too stressful, right? But it should be part of the analysis, right? And then my favorite part, astrology, astrological data. Man, there's so many astrological things that are happening every day at all times. Okay, and they will all have an effect on the fundamental analysis, on the fundamental factors, as well as on the technical factors. Okay, so whenever you analyze a company like that, you always want to look at the chart of the company, right? How does the chart create it? Well, first of all, there are multiple charts. If it's a small business, I would look at the chart of the incorporation as well as the chart of the first transaction. When has the first transaction been made, right? So the first horoscope, the first chart is going to be about the general character of the company, right? And the chart that is created based on the first transaction is going to be the chart that explains or signifies how the company is going to do in the realm of finances. Okay, very important stuff. If not the most important stuff when it comes to a company, right? So you look for what John Rotra's clonic. No, this is not going to be. This is not going to be clonic. This is um, a little bit more sophisticated than calling a demon and letting him tell you what stock to invest in. This is a lazy approach, my friend. Calling a spirit to tell you this or that. This is a lazy approach. Lazy approach. That's not how you do it. So what about the solar eclipse on the 8th? What about the solar eclipse? What effect does that have? Okay. It's going to be on the 8th. It's going to be Monday. Have you researched what the solar eclipse is going to do? Right. So factors like that are going to be super important. Um, bro, there are so many different things that happen all the time that affect a company in this way or that way, this way or that way. I always mention this one example where you look at a where you look at the interaction between, let's say, a company is in the fashion industry. Okay, Venus is the planet that rules fashion, aesthetics, art, things like that, right? Now, what if Venus creates a negative aspect with Saturn? Okay, there's something like an opposition, a negative transit. That means the energy is going to be affected negatively, which means that the price of the company is going to drop. The price of the stock of the company is going to drop, right? And that is something that you can know in advance. You can know that in advance, and in this case, you could have gone short. Short means you make a bet on the price falling. Okay, let me explain short selling real quick. What is short selling? Short selling is you've done your analysis and you believe that the company um, is a candidate to go down in price in the next couple of months, right? For whatever reason. Maybe you used astrological data or other things, right? So let's say based on your astrological analysis, you decided that the company is going to go down in a couple of months, right? The price is going to drop. Now, what do you do with this information? You go to somebody, and normally you will be able to do this through a broker, okay? But you could do it through a bank or a private person that holds a lot of stocks or whatever, right? But at the end of the day, most of the time you're going to do that through a broker, right? And you borrow a certain amount of stocks. The great thing is to borrow the stock, you only have to pay a fee of around 1% of the price. So let's say the price is at $1,000 per share, okay? As an example, you have to pay $10 per stock to borrow that, okay? And you do that with, let's say, 1,000 stocks. You pay 10K, 10 grand, or less, or whatever. You pay 10K as an example. Okay, could be less. And you have now a million worth of stocks, and then you take those stocks and sell them at the market right away. You sell them at the market price. Now you got a million in the bank in the account, but you can't celebrate yet because you still have to wait for the stocks to go down. Because remember, the price to go down. Because remember, you only borrowed it. Okay, so what's going to happen is, let's imagine the price falls 30%, 30%, 33%, or whatever, during the next 2 months, right? So what you do at that point is, or let's say 40%, okay? The stock drops 40%. You buy back the shares. You buy back the shares for, and in this case, it's going to be 600,000. Okay, 600,000. And what is going to be your, and you give it back to the original owner, of course, right? Now, what's going to be your profit? It's going to be 400,000 minus 10,000 in fees. Okay, so 390,000 is your profit. Is that, listen, I mean, I think this is a dream. Have you, like, where have you heard about being able to invest 10K and make 390,000 back? And this is being done every day. Okay, this is being done every day. It's it's a very lucrative game, specifically, especially in a bear market that we're going to experience here. Okay, everybody talks about the stock market being up or the S&P 500 being up. The S&P 500 is only being propped up by five companies. You know, the usual suspects. It's Meta, it's Alphabet, it's Amazon. You know, uh, Tesla, all of those guys. You see. So in general, the economy is not doing well. You know, really, it really isn't. It's just that some companies have such a high growth. You know, and by the way they're growing is not organically. They're only growing through acquisitions all the time. If you're a shareholder of a company, think about it. If you're a shareholder of a company, meaning you own stocks of the of the company, you expect an annual return every year. You want to make a return on your money. That can only happen if the stock price or the value of the stock goes up. So theoretically speaking, it's not a 1-to-1 ratio, but we could say theoretically that if the company grows 40 to 14% in revenue, that has a very, very positive effect on theoretically 14% increase of the stock value. So the investor, the individual investor, uh, makes 14%, the shareholder, right? He makes 14% per year. The only way you do that with a company as large as Meta or whatever, the only way you can do that is really by being super innovative or acquiring new companies. That's the only way you can grow so fast if you have such a huge size already. Think about it. 14% of a trillion-dollar company is a lot more than 14% of a company that is worth 2 million or something like that. It's much harder to grow by 14%. Okay, it's like 114 billion per year. Like that's the growth that is required, right? That's why they do a lot of acquisition activity, buying other companies and whatnot, right? But the point is, what you need a solid financial education. That's the number one thing. Okay, you need to understand this game, which is not as hard as it sounds. It just um, maybe it doesn't sound hard, but for some people, economics seems to be like a book with seven seals, or investing or things like that. It seems to be very, very complicated, which it really isn't. You just have to digest it a little bit, okay? And the more time you spend on it, the easier it's going to get, right? And then you use the things that I just mentioned, technical analysis, fundamental analysis, and astrology, and then you start playing this game. And it's exciting, man. It's one of the most exciting games that you could ever play. It's good stuff. It's great stuff, man. A lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. Good. So I'm gonna post the link in the chat one more time, okay, just to make sure. There's a free Astro Finance newsletter that I'm putting out. Okay. Go on to the page that is linked through that. One second. I'm putting a link in the chat here. Okay. Putting a link in the chat. So, when you use this link, it's going to take you to a page where you can sign up for that newsletter. All right. and you're going to get it completely for free. Okay, you're gonna get it completely for free. I'm not doing this to make money. I'm doing this to put out information and value, um, so that you hopefully can benefit from that as well. Okay. Uh, the the world needs a shift of consciousness. Very important. The world needs a shift of and that's already happening. Okay. But one of the main things that is preventing the world from changing is economic slavery. You know, uh, people being stuck in making ends meet. You know, we only have a limited amount of energy every day, and some people have more energy, some people have less energy. But at the end of the day, it's just being productive and creating good things in the world, and even studying spirituality and doing our craft and all that stuff. That takes energy. That takes time, right? And the more we are stuck in a wheel of making ends meet and doing that, the less energy we have available for the things that are actually important. Now, the thing is that spirituality and things like astrology and others, they have the tools to liberate us from that. Okay, they have the tools so that you can basically play this game at a different level. So you're in control of that. All right, that's really what you want, right? It's not for the money; it's for the freedom that comes with being in control over that, right? Now, um, the problem with most people that are in spirituality, though, is that they can't apply it. They can't apply it to the real world. Unfortunately, you know, it's a pipe dream for the most part, and I see that as my or part of my goal to help people really apply spiritual knowledge to make their life, the real life, to the mundane life better. Okay, and this is one of the things you can do with it, right? Financial astrology is super profitable. It's super enlightening and super interesting, and it expands your horizons, man. It expands your consciousness quite a bit. It's really cool stuff. All right, cool. Do we have any questions in the chat? There are no questions in the chat. I'm going to give it a minute or two to give you guys the chance to post some questions or comments or whatever, right? Please keep it clean and keep it productive, or how do I say that? Keep it, you know, polite, and then I'm going to wrap this up. I think I said everything I wanted to say. The link is posted in the chat twice. If you want to sign up for that newsletter, do it. The first issue has not been published yet. That's because that's happening around every 2 weeks. Um, but the first issue is going to happen very soon. Do we have comments? Do we have comments? Would it be helpful to create a servitor during the eclipse to help manifest wealth, love, etc.? This eclipse is going to happen in Aries, and Chiron is also going to be involved. Chiron is the asteroid As an asteroid, that signifies or stands for, symbolizes pain, emotional pain. You know, so um, the area of your life that's going to be affected, where there's going to be a new beginning and a healing is going to be happening, is individual to you, depending on your personal chart, right? Uh, I mean, it also depends on your ascendant. Okay, for me, for example, I'm a Scorpio ascendant, so for me, it's gonna signify that that something is gonna be started around my health. Meaning, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna pick up a new routine that is gonna help my health in some way or another, right? And uh, so it's really individual, you see. And the servitor, yeah, sure, it can help. I think the best way to practice magic is to first of all understand the energetic dynamic that's already going on, the energetic dynamic that is playing out, and then boosting that natural tendency. Okay, uh, boosting the natural tendency using magic, such as with a servitor or something like that, right? And so it would be something about you personally. Okay, so figure out how you're going to be affected by that eclipse, and then sure, you can use a servitor to help you strengthen that tendency or whatever you want to do with it, for sure. Yeah, good. Lee Lalian said Daddy Anubis. Daddy Anubis. Okay, guys. So, like I said, the links are in the comments. Sign up for the newsletter. It's free, and you're definitely going to benefit from it. Hopefully, I really hope you can benefit from it. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye. Bye bye.